Dear Cruiser, your life applications officer. Hold on a second. Okay, this is D-Roy Cruz, your life applications officer on my Cruise for Christ channel. Hope you can see me. There we go. That's better. Is it going to stay that way or what? Um, this couple right here in front on my screen, they're called the Tribe Report. And they do a lot of videos about modern day sexual activity, modern day dating advice. They talk about how millennialism conflicts with the boomers, as my atheist friends like to say, the penny candy people. And they love to talk about how everything is about modern versus old-fashioned. But some things that are old-fashioned are good for us, okay? Like the way we date. They talk about the traditional home. They believe in marriage as a high, important, no-nonsense factor in any relationship. They put marriage on high value and high esteem, which is good. They talk about how the man is in charge, which is good, and the woman looks for a man that's in charge. She wants an alpha male, and she wants that man that's going to take care of her, whether she has a job of her own or not. He's going to allow her to be a career woman, but at the same time treat her like a lady and treat her like he's the CEO in his household, and he's going to take care of his wife and kids. And, they talk about male and female values, but they lack one thing. They lack the biblical interpretation of these values. These values don't come from the soil. They don't come from mom and dad without God, or mom and dad without a Bible. They don't come down from grandma without a Bible, grandma without God. When we talk about value in the family, when we talk about men and women playing roles, there's only one place where this can be put in its rightful place, and that is through the teachings of God's Word. It's not good enough to expect there to be value in relationships without God and His principles and the Bible and its principles. Okay? And it's not about religion, it's about God, it's about Jesus, it's about it's about the family that was ordained by God in the beginning. Adam and Eve were told to be fruitful and multiply, but when God created them, He created them as a couple. He created them as a married couple. They were married when they were conceived. Unlike today, where we go out and meet a woman and we're worried about dating and how to do all these things to get this beautiful woman in our arms and get our ring on her finger, and everybody is wanting the same girl, so it's a competition. But there was no competition when God introduced Eve to Adam. Adam didn't have to compete with anybody for Eve. Neither was Eve able to look at any other man and say, well, Adam has to compete, and then when Adam gets done competing, I will pick between Adam and about 10 other guys which one will be my husband. But see, that's the modern day way, even in the church, that we are finding relationships. And relationships are all about putting pretty girls with handsome men and putting tall men, sometimes tall, dark, and handsome, or tall, white, and handsome, above every other man, and putting the best girls with not only the best looking men, but the most wealthiest men, the men who have it all. And even if he has it all, women want to be, thanks to feminism, women want to run this man that has it all. They want to come in there and run a millionaire and tell a millionaire how to run his wife, his family, and tell a millionaire how to conduct himself as her man. The dating world is very, very selfish today. It is very, very selfish. And it is very egotistical. It is very chauvinistic. It is very feminist. It is very vain. It is very vain, the way men and women connect today. Okay, now that I got that out of the way, this beautiful woman right here on the left of your screen, okay, her name is Sophie. And I think his name is Bill or Joe. It's either Bill or Joe. The Tribe Report. I love their show. And I love Sophie. Sophie, if you were to rate Sophie on modesty, she would be the most modest woman on YouTube. She would be the most modest woman in social media because of not only the way she looks and her beauty, and she's not really, really outlandish with her beauty and flaunting it like many women do that are as beautiful and as pretty as her, but she is very modest in her speech towards modesty and towards modern day women and the men that want to be with these modern day women. Now, she said one thing that is going to cause her a lot of heartache in her life, because either you have to go all the way with Jesus or you have to accept that your ways are the ways of the world. She thinks she's exempt. These two people right here in front of me think they're exempt from the sadness and the patheticness of what goes on in the world around us as far as dating and relationships. Now, Sophie, she sounds almost like a Christian when she talks about relationships, and when she talks about how the home is conducted, and she talks about how women should treat men and men should treat women. She sounds almost like a Christian, but she says one thing that is very important, that she has made herself almost sluttish. She said that she doesn't know if she would wait. She said, "Oh no, I'm not saying that I would wait till marriage. I don't believe in that. I wouldn't wait till marriage to have sex. She didn't even say that she would wait till she was in a loving relationship before she had sex. She just said, I would not wait till marriage to have sex. And she was separating sex from relationship. So even though she's the most modest woman on YouTube, the most modest woman in social media, in my humble opinion, she is also very much part of the pack, very much part of the beast system when it comes to love and sex, and it's going to break her heart. She's saving herself for the perfect man, but yet she says that she's not going to wait for him before she has sex, and she's not going to wait till marriage to have sex. So she may be, as right now as I'm speaking, meeting men and having sex with them. Maybe a guy here or a guy there. And when I look at her face, her gorgeous, beautiful face, and I see the modest words that come out of her mouth, but then she turns around and she says something like, I would not wait till marriage to have sex. The look on her face when she says that is very indulgent, and sadly indulgent. See, folks, this is the joy of my lifestyle. This is the most powerful piece of gold that I have in my life. Guys like me, average Joes like myself, if I'm even worth to be called an average Joe, and I would never be able to settle down even, or make enough money, or be tall enough, or be young enough, or be interesting enough, say all the right words, have all the right lines, have the AMO, the swagger, the confidence to be with somebody like Sophie. Sophie would look at me, and immediately, the minute she saw me, she would worry about me staring at her, and she'd wish I'd go away because she's afraid I'm going to stare, because she knows she's going to look at herself and look at me, and she's going to feel like, don't start, because she knows how beautiful she is. And that's why she's playing hard to get, but she's playing hard to get in the wrong society. To say that you will not wait till marriage to have sex, that if you meet a certain man and you think that you can have sex between two consensual adults and have a good time for that night, and it's not going to turn back and bite you, you are very well going to get bitten. Okay? The joy of Christianity, the Bible says, is to keep our bodies under subjection. What does that mean? What does that mean for your body to be a living sacrifice, holy and acceptable unto God, which is your reasonable service? That actually means flee fornication. All of it. Not a one-night stand, not a girlfriend. We don't have girlfriends in the kingdom of heaven. Sophie, I believe, is looking for a boyfriend she will evaluate him and enjoy him for so many days, weeks, months, and years. And if he's really that outstanding of a hotshot, she will agree to marry him. And when she finds out that she ends up divorced and stuck with the children, or she's gotten older and she still hasn't had children yet, she's going to be broken. She's going to be hurt, because any guy who can get in a woman's pants without paying the cost of holy matrimony is not a guy that you can trust to stay around. He's not a guy that you can trust. The secular world is not a place for love when it comes to sex. If sex and marriage isn't one piece, then you are bound to be fooled. You are bound to be tricked and played. Okay? And look at this outfit that Sophie is wearing. Now, she talks about modesty, and the two of them talk about women who like to show their cleavage and lose respect, or men lose respect for them and use them, and they always go after the woman that shows her cleavage. And a lot of times it's sex and then he's gone, or it's sex and then she doesn't want to be with him anymore. She's either using him or he's using her. Okay? But Sophie doesn't realize the very thing that she is speaking out against, what she's wearing and what she's saying about her own personal humble opinion about sex and her personal sexual revolution, is not very different than those that she is correcting. It's not very different. Okay? Men that are out there looking to have sex with women by just being a nice guy, and they think that gets them into bed with a woman, or they think that gets them in bed with a woman because they're nice, or they spent money on her, or they treated her like a sugar baby or sugar mama, or whatever it might be. That does not commit two people together. That does not mean that he's going to stick around and he's going to be so in love with her that he's going to marry her and want to give her children. Okay? And Sophie here probably doesn't dress like this in public, being she likes to talk about modesty, but yet she's wearing it on the show, which more people are seeing her dress like this than people that would see her in public. Okay? And I'm sure that there's men looking at her on this show and watching her like I am, and they're drooling over her, and they're filthy rich. And they know how to find her and go get her because they want her, because they got the money, they got the hype. They can take care of her right now for the rest of her life if they want to, and give her children. But would they really love her? Would they really be there for her through sickness and health, and through thick and thin, until death do us part? Would they really stay there for her? When she gets old like me and gets in her 50s, are they going to still be there for her? She's gorgeous at 30 some years old, or 30 years old. I think she's a little bit over 30. And I can tell she's worried about what's going to happen to her. But yet, if she's worried about what's going to happen to her, the last thing that should come out of her mouth is, oh, I'm not going to wait till marriage to have sex. Who are you waiting on, Sophie? Who's this hot shot that you're waiting on? Okay? In my life, as much as I desire sometimes, I feel like I'm going through midlife crisis sometimes. Sometimes I feel like I'm being left out as a Christian. And it's always the woman that I want to get away from that want me, and the women that I'd like to be with, okay, are out of my league. And that's very common among men, especially men like me. However, the joy of sexual purity, I have it. And I run from women who want to indulge with me and engage with me on a physical level. I run away from women who don't talk about Jesus enough, who don't talk about holiness and purity enough. I run away from women who practice showing their cleavage while they talk about modesty. It's a double standard. You can't talk about modesty and show your cleavage at the same time. But in closing, sexual purity, what's wrong with it? What's so wrong about somebody keeping their virginity? Now I'm divorced with children. But what's wrong with a woman or a man keeping their virginity? And why is it wrong for the man's sexuality to be just as pure and worth treating like gold, and his virginity being precious and holy and pure in God's eyes and in people's eyes? Why is this wrong? Why? But I believe that it doesn't get old, it doesn't get outdated, and God does not change when it comes to his 10 commandments. God does not change, neither does the Apostle Paul and the disciples of Jesus or any of the prophets in the Bible. Nobody changes in the Bible when it comes to sexuality. We abstain from fornication. Therefore, nobody has to worry about getting anyone pregnant. Nobody has to worry about child support. None of us guys have to worry about, some woman leaving us and cheating on us and these things. Because if we fall in love with a woman that's of the Christian community, that believes the same way we believe, and she believes that her body is pure, and she believes that my body is pure, and my virginity or secondary virginity or third place virginity or whatever is also pure. She believes that my sexual purity is sexual purity. And she believes that it is beautiful for me to abstain from fornication and all sexual secular attitudes about sex and relationships. She believes that it is pure for me to stay away from those attitudes, just like she believes for her own safety and her own purity in the Lord Jesus to stay away from those attitudes. Now, in closing is this, okay? Sexual purity is an attitude that we have every day of our Christian life. When we go to work every day, I told a guy today about, y'all love to talk about women, y'all need to talk about your wives, okay? Y'all love to talk about women. Why don't you talk about your wives? Okay? To me, one woman is enough. I'd be glad to have one if God worked that out for me. But I don't have to worry about a good Christian woman expecting me to go to A, B, C, and D and all these levels and have all these things to get to her. Because when a woman is pure in God's eyes and the eyes of man, she does not look for vanity in relationships and all the swagger and all that nonsense. She looks for a man that will be with her till death do her part. And she looks for a man that will bear her children and father her children till death do them part. And she looks for a man that's going to take care of her no matter how successful he is or how less successful he is, no matter how successful she is or how less successful she is. There is no feminism. There is no egotism. There is no chauvinism. There is no downplay of the women or downplay of the man. It's just two people in the eyes of God, understanding that one is the male, one is the female. They have their roles to play, no matter how wealthy or how independent they are. They have their roles to play according to their gender and according to their relationship with God. They have their roles to play. And this is the beauty of sexual purity. And I pray for Sophie and I pray for Joe I think his name's Joe. I pray for them that they will stop acting like what they talk about on their channel came from Gandhi or came from, you know, just American history or you know, the history of their own, you know, country itself alone. It did not. It came from God. It came from the Bible. Man has never cared about sexual purity. The only people that have cared about sexual purity is the people of God. It is the people that are secular, who are religious, who will pull the parts of the Bible and pull the parts of Christianity that they agree with into their own little religion and call it godly or call it, you know, a principle. But in order for the principle to be completely protected and be completely effective, it has to be 100% Bible. It has to be 100% God. God does not want you trying to be moral by waiting till Mr. Super Dude, Mr. Super Hot Shot, Mr. Super Perfect comes into your life before you spread your legs. There's never a time to spread your legs for anybody but your husband. Okay? You don't spread your legs for anybody but your husband. And this goes in the attitude about sexual purity, goes in the way you dress. You don't show your cleavage. The way she's dressed right now, nobody should see her dressed like that but her husband. And I've heard women and men talk about this, shortening their own sexual purity and their own relationships with the opposite sex by saying, well, I don't think that it's wrong for a woman to flaunt it if she's got it, or a man to flaunt it if she's got it. I'm not a jealous person, and blah, 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 blah. But trust and faithfulness is face value. I don't just trust my wife, or a woman doesn't just trust her husband because she believes in him, but she can also see him practicing that trust, practicing that purity in front of her and their children. Okay? And we need to make rules and customs and laws in our marriage to protect our marriage, not because we don't trust each other, but because we are God's people, and it is our moral obligation, and it is our moral perfection to control our behavior and control what other people see when we are a single person looking for, you know, a husband or a wife, or we're married and we're hoping one day to be married. Or I'm saying we're married and we're hoping to protect our marriage. Okay? It's not about jealousy or being insecure or being too over religious. It's about purity. It's about nipping things in the bud before they jump off. It's about keeping mistakes from happening in the beginning instead of later after they happen. It's about making sure that what comes out of your mouth is what's going on in the light. The promises are being shown out of your behavior around other women and other men every day of your life. Okay? So Sophie, I appreciate her and I appreciate Joe. I think his name's Joe. But I also appreciate the goodness of God above what they're saying, because all these people out there that they are criticizing on their show and trying to correct on the show and give a better answer for. They do a good job, so I will continue to watch them. But however, they're leaving out one important ingredient, and that is God himself and his plan for sexual purity and marriage and relationships between genders, between the two genders. Okay? So thank you for watching. I am DeRoy Cruz, your life applications officer on my Cruise for Christ channel. Thank you for watching, and I'll do another one soon. God bless you.